Sorry about that. This is Season 4, Episode 8 of my modular journey, and today I am playing with the MakeNoise Pressure Points. The Pressure Points is described as a controller or analog sequencer that is played by hand. Pressure Points was my solution to needing manual touch interactivity with my modular system. I bought it around October 26th of 2023, and it cost around $215. While I did purchase it for manual touch interactivity, not so much as just a touch trigger, though that is what got me interested in it in the first place, but the fact that it has these 4 channels and these touch pads that are pressure sensitive to the finger's touch, so the more finger covering the gold lines here, the more pressure is being applied. It's not actually pressure sensitive, it's actually coverage sensitive. This could be useful for using pressure to open filters or cut off like you just heard in my silly little demo there, or opening a VCA. In this case, I was using voltages to extend the attack segment of my envelopes, for instance, and then using another one over here to tweak the morph of the chords mode of Platts over here. So again, I was mostly interested at first in just being able to touch something and then something happening. Until now, mostly my modular creations triggered themselves via clocks or pulses or envelope shapes, etc. Now I can tap pressure points and make something happen. Look out, the human is off his leash. So a quick review of the panel here. Along the top are 4 sets of 2 jacks, each being pressure out and gate out for channels 1 through 4, with channel 4 pressure and gate being a combined value or a normaled value, which means that if nothing is jacked into 1, 2, or 3, then all channels resolve down here into channel 4. Each channel has an active stage LED, which means the channel is putting out some kind of a signal. Over here on the right are 3 tuned voltage outputs, with row 1 being 0 to 8 volts, row 2 and 3 being 0 to 5.5 volts. Note that the manual refers to these rows as X, Y, and Z. Below these right side jacks is a digital trimmer, which sounds mighty dangerous. The embarrassing admission here is that I am so used to reading digital, I didn't even put this together that it was referring to digit as your finger, and this tiny pot adjusts the sensitivity of the touch plates. Oops. Then of course the star of the show are these 4 touch plates down here. These plates use human touch to activate the stage or the channel, generate gates held open and let go to close, and generate pressure by sensing how much of the plate surface is covered by human skin. I've got a lot of wires in the way right now, but eventually I'll show off what data looks like here. The manual states, "Wash your hands, you filthy chocolate-scarfing pig." No, it doesn't actually say that. I'm just saying that. Which I did. I washed my hands before touching the plates. And to wrap up, there are these 3 rows, X, Y, and Z, of these 4 tuned voltage pots. Oddly, the manual doesn't really get into examples of what X, Y, and Z of each channel means to the tuned voltage outputs on the right. We'll have to experiment. So why I chose pressure points? There's no real reason to pick pressure points over any other manual trigger type module. In fact, you saw I also picked the Maritime Modular Decca for the same reasons, to add some manual-ish control over certain aspects of my modular system. The added bonus of pressure points, of course, is the pressure sensitivity aspect, and I think that will be a lot of fun to experiment with. How I plan to use pressure points: as I mentioned, I could see setting it up as a 4-step sequencer of sorts. Simply tap one of the pads to change notes or keys, ultimately voltage, going to something else. Or use the pressure aspect to open and close filters or VCAs with the touch of my mighty finger, which I'm about to show you. The initial purchase concept, though, was just to give me some sort of manual capability to interact physically with the modular system, without the need of a keyboard controller and MIDI to CV converters, although I've not given up on that idea yet. Note this decision was made before purchasing Decca, which I have already discussed in Season 4, but in my opinion, I can never have too many places to stick my fingers. So for a visual demo here, I'll try to take a look at the data module down here. The green trace is going to show when I touch something. Hopefully that's going to show some kind of what's going on. So the manual says that if you touch just the tippy top of the plate with as little of your finger as possible, it engages the gate signal. So you can see the gate kind of opening and closing on data there for as long as I touch the plate. Now that could be anywhere really, touching the gate. What you're trying to do though, I think, is avoid using pressure at the same time. So let me plug in into the blue trace, plug in the pressure here. Keep an eye on the blue trace as well, if you can see that from above, that when you touch the plate, not only does the gate open, but the pressure rises, depending on how much of your flesh is touching the pad. And it is very, very sensitive. Even with the sensitivity knob here turned all the way down, I am barely touching the plate, and the voltage is just screaming up. So maybe it's because I have these fat, chubby fingers. And of course, as soon as you let go, the gate closes, and so does the pressure. Everything falls back to zero. So that's pretty self-explanatory. So if I want to set up a simple 4-step sequence for another example, let me pull out these guys. I'm going to go gate and voltage. So my gate signal comes out of this guy. My voltage will come out of this guy, this row 1 here. So we have 4 channels and 3 voltage knobs each. So X is here with this voltage wire coming out. You can see as I raise the pot, the voltage goes up and then the voltage comes down. And that is 0 to 8 volts, while this one down here is 0 to 5.5. So it's not quite as high. All right, so I'm going to take a gate out of here. I'm going to put my gate back into level of Platts. And then what do I have? I have volt per octave here. Let me grab volt per octave out. So I'm going to change the pitch of whatever's going on in Platts, and I'm going to open the gate at the same time. All right, so let's turn this down. Okay, so what I have set up is I have the gate coming out for all 4 channels. The gate's coming out to data so you can see the signal being the gate opening. And then I have the X line here. The voltage is coming out of here into data also so you can see that. And it's going to the pitch of Platts. Does that make sense? And I'm going to touch channel 1's plate here. I'm going to open the gate. And then I'm going to turn this voltage knob here, because you can see turning the voltage raises the voltage, which means our pitch should change. That kind of makes sense, doesn't it? I could turn down the reverb, but I kind of like the big giant reverb on this. So I've set up a couple of voltages here on the Y row, which is only 5.5 volts, so it was easier to tune, and my little sequence might sound like this. What happens if I now take just something out of pressure here? So with pressure coming out of pressure points, going to the morph knob on Platts over there, let me touch just the very tippy top of the plate. So you notice there's a little bit of weirdness going on. Like I'm touching this one, but it's still playing the last channel. I'm not sure what's going on with that. It's probably my fingers. It's probably just how I'm not touching them properly. But let's say that I touch now. And I'm going to run my finger a little bit more onto this plate. I've got some crackling going on, but I'm pretty sure that's the voice. I'm pretty sure that's Platts that's doing that. You hear it kind of rumbling? So what I'm getting, I guess what I'm getting at is you can do modulations with pressure. And it's going to take a little getting used to. But the thing I really want to use this for, well, so let me see if I can put my patch back the way it was. So for this next quick piece here, I just want to show, I have just a random sequence programmed here into NerdSec, so I'm just going to start that pattern. It sounds kind of like this, but I have the two pressure pads here. One of them is going to extend the decay side of the envelope, and the other one's going to increase the cutoff of the filter. Do you see how sensitive that is? I don't know how to get it to be gentle. I mean, again, the sensitivity knob's turned all the way down. Oh, you know what? I'm plugged into gates, dumbass. Hold on a moment. All right, this will make a little bit more sense now. Hey, I don't mind showing you that I don't know what I'm doing half the time. All right, so here we have a little bit better. I can extend the decay side of my envelope with this pad, and then I can start creeping in some of the cutoff filter here. That is primarily why I bought this and why I wanted it in my modular. Like, I have 4 channels here. I can do this to 4 VCFs or 4 VCAs if I want to manually control things rather than reach in there and turn knobs, you know? So that's kind of how that works. So to wrap this up, that's kind of the thing I wanted to show about pressure points and why I chose it and how I plan to use it is mostly for the pressure and the gate. I don't know that I'm going to use it as a sequencer necessarily, but here's a way that the sequencing, you know, quote unquote sequencers can work is I could plug a voltage into, say, Symphonian over there, sending an in jack to the quantizer and say I'm in this key of C now I'm in the key of G, and now I'm in the key of F, or whatever. Or even say a specific voltage to change patterns. I could use these to change what pattern or sequence is being played on Symphonian to drive everything else, because as you know, Symphonian is the guy that tells everybody to stay in key. So that's another way to use the pressure points, I think. But really anything with touch voltage output would probably accomplish that. So again, not specific to pressure points, but I really think that demonstration right there of being able to bring in cutoff modulation and extending envelopes so they're a little bit, they change live, the wave of my mighty finger. So I think that's it. I think that's it for pressure points for today. Coming up next will be the rite of passage to modular, and that is maths. I did finally buy a maths, and I think I finally understand it after a year and a half, so wish me luck. Meanwhile, let's play a song. I'm really sorry that was so shitty.